Heading into episode 15. 5 more questions to help you pass that Network Plus exam. I almost said Security Plus, but we're doing Network Plus. We're doing Network Plus as we go through this. Remember, as you're going through Network Plus, as you're going through these questions, I often see students doing this, and they just skip to the end. They just skip to the answers. They just want to get the answers. Make sure that you're guessing. Make sure you're guessing, because remember, we're trying to learn. We're trying to learn. Now I get it. Some people are like, well, I'm just getting started and I'm watching it, and that's fine. That's fine. I get it, right? But let's try and guess. Even if you don't know, take a guess. Take a guess. No one's watching. No one's keeping up with you. No one's making sure that you're doing that, right? So make sure that you're guessing. You'd be surprised, I bet, that you've got it right. You've got it right sometimes. Sometimes. I guess not, right? It's a 25% chance of getting it right. Let's jump into it, because I'm rambling again, which I often do. Question number 1. A network architect is designing a new data center using a spine and leaf architecture to optimize east-west traffic flow. Which of the following is an advantage of using this architecture compared to a traditional 3-tier architecture? Yeah, this is on Network Plus. It is. They make you understand the different architecture types as you're going through. It's amazing. A lot of people ask me, they're like, well, how do you figure out questions? Well, I go to the KUs, the knowledge units. CompTIA pushes that out, and they say, hey, here's our domains, and here's the process. I actually had a student on Security Plus ask me to do a frequently asked questions video, and I'm going to put that up this week. I'm going to put it out this week. Maybe I'll do Network Plus the following week. Maybe. We'll see. All right. I think that's enough time. Let's see if we can answer this question. As always, if you need more time, you can always pause the video. You just pause it, look at this, see what you think. What do you think, Ben? All right, let's answer this one. A network architect is designing a new data center using a spine and leaf architecture to optimize east-west traffic flow. Which of the following is an advantage of using this architecture compared to a traditional 3-tier architecture? So there's a lot to unwrap in this one. There really is. So first, we need to understand the difference between east-west traffic and north-south traffic. And so east-west traffic is servers within the data center. That's servers to server contact, right? That's east-west traffic. And then north-south traffic is between the data center and then external networks. And so if you think about it, east-west traffic is within your data center. North-south traffic, that's between the client or the external network, right? So a spine and leaf is designed to optimize the traffic that's internal to the network. And so what we're trying to utilize here is high bandwidth, low latency within the internal network. That is our goal. That's what we're trying to utilize, right? And so that's where we need to start. So which of the following is an advantage of using this architecture compared to a 3-tier architecture? And so we have to understand that aspect as well. So what is a 3-tier architecture? Well, within a 3-tier architecture, we have the core layer, we have the aggregation layer, and then we have the access layer. And so all of this revolves around separating the network into 3 different layers, each with its own purpose, each with its own functionality, each responsible for a different aspect of it. This makes it a little bit easier to troubleshoot and identify errors within that 3-tier setup. So let's kind of divulge that. Let's get into this, right? So what possible could be the answer? Well, I think D is an easy write-off, right? We just talked about how we want to optimize east-west traffic flow and prioritization of north-south traffic flow. Well, like we already stated, that's from the server to the client. So that doesn't really make sense. C, centralized traffic management through the core layer. Well, we just described what a 3-tier layer was. And so the core layer is one of those tiers. And so not really what we're looking for. That leaves A or B, and reduce cabling complexity or improve scalability to server-server communication. Well, we just said that east-west traffic flow is all about server-to-server communication. So that's what we would want to improve. That makes our answer B. It's going to be B. There we go. B it is. All right, a little bit hard right off the routes, right? Now, if you knew the difference, then you were good to go. But if you didn't, hopefully you learned something. And that's all we're trying to accomplish today. I know. I made it a little bit difficult to start off. Let's hit question number 2. A little bit easier. Which of the following is the most appropriate humidity range for maintaining an optimal environment within the data center. Which one is the most optimal for humidity? Do you remember? Do you remember the humidity ranges? Right? Is it 10 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, or 60 to 80? Or is it 80 to 100? We didn't even put that one on there. Probably not that one since I didn't put it on there. Could you imagine 100% humidity in your server room? The condensation running down the server racks, that would be great, wouldn't it? I'm sure that your boss would be like, yeah, that's all right. Let's have water. Let's have water all up and down our server racks as we're moving through. This is definitely one of those questions where if you don't know it, you don't know it, unfortunately, right? But I want you to think about this. I want you to think about it from a perspective, logically, as you're going through this question, even if you don't know it, okay? Think about what 80% humidity is. Think about what 60%, 40%, and 20% is. All right? Now, why do we have humidity? Why would we want humidity in a server room? Why wouldn't we want humidity in a server room? And so there's a perfect balance between the two. And if you can critically think through that process, I think that you'll be close to an answer. Maybe you won't get it exactly, but you'll be close. All right, let's try and answer this one. Go ahead and pause this video if you need more time. Which of the following is the most appropriate humidity range for maintaining an optimal environment in a data center? Well, here's the problem. Too little humidity, dry area, static electricity. Too much humidity, then we have condensation and we have water flowing all over our equipment. Water and electricity is bad. It's bad. And so we need to carefully balance it because we don't want the static electricity, but we don't want the dripping of condensation all over our equipment. And so since we don't want the static electricity, probably 10 to 20% isn't dead. Let's get rid of that one. And we don't want, condensation like a Coke glass with ice in it flipping all over our servers. So 60 to 80 is probably an easy one to get rid of too. That leaves B or C. B or C. Now, the careful question is here, which one is better? Because that's really where it comes into play. And so optimally, we used to have a saying in our server rooms, 50%. 50%, you were golden. So 40 to 60% humidity is what we're looking for. 40 to 60%. We really don't want less than 40% humidity because that could lead to static electricity discharge, which means we're ruining equipment. Too much humidity, i.e. above 60%, and we've got condensation. We've got issues with water in our lines, and that's not something we want. And so our answer, very clearly, 40 to 60%. And if you can't remember that, 50%. 50% humidity is our golden ticket. That's what we're looking for. All right, moving on. Well, let's answer that. There we go, 40 to 60%. There we go. Let's move on. Question number 3. A network administrator is configuring DNS settings for the company's email servers. Which DNS record type should be configured to direct email traffic to the appropriate email server? What do you think about this one? What do you think? I know. You've got to remember all these crazy acronyms. I'm teaching a course in college right now. We just went through this, and I had a lot of students. We didn't really do the right one, right? We didn't talk about this one. But NS, we talked about NS, and we were talking about name server and name services, I should say. And then we went through it, and we were like, okay, well, why is it this? Why isn't it this other one over here? So I'm being really careful. I'm trying not to give the answer away as we're going through this, right? And so just be aware. Just be aware. You need to know the different record types. You need to know what an A record is, a CNAME, an MX, and a TXT record. And don't worry, we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you as we go through this. Okay. I'm going to stop rambling. Let's answer this one. If you need more time, of course, pause the video. A network administrator is configuring DNS settings for the company's email servers. Which DNS record type should be configured to direct email traffic to the appropriate email server? Well, A record. A record. I love A record, right? I always like to say it's an A record, right? But that's not the case. A record is used to map the domain name to the IP address. That's A record, right? Then we have TXT record, often used with sender policy framework and other security-related details, but not email. Not email. A TXT record is associated with security, right? Sender policy frameworks, that kind of thing. That leaves a CNAME, whatever a CNAME is, or an MX record. People often ask me, why do I get to the last two and I kind of pause? Well, because I want you to guess again. I'm giving you a 50% chance. What do you think it is? Use that brain. Use that logic. Critically think. Go through it and be like, I want to try and guess. And that's okay. That's why I'm giving that extra time. All right, so a CNAME, canonical name record used for alias from one domain to another, and that means an MX record is a mail exchange record. It's a mail exchange record. I can't say this enough. You're going to hear me repeat this over and over and over again. Know your acronyms. 40% of your exam, 40% can be gained just, or it should be passed just by knowing the acronyms, just by understanding that MX is mail exchange. If you knew mail exchange, you'd be like, boom, done. Moving on. I already know the answer to this one, right? But if you don't know the acronyms, right? If you don't know the acronyms, then a lot of times that could play issues, right? All right, question number 4. Number 4. A company implements SAML for SSO to integrate with third-party services. What does SAML play in this? What role does SAML play in this process? Ooh, a little bit difficult on this one. What do you think? What role does SAML play in SSO? That's what we're asking. What do we think? What do we think is going through with this one? I know, you're going to hear me talk. All right, let's see if we can answer this one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Of course, you need more time. You can pause the video. Go ahead and pause it. It's okay. All right, SAML. What is SAML? Security Assertion Markup Language, right? Open standard for single sign-on. Single sign-on. And so we know that. So how does SAML work, right? We have our identity provider. This verifies the user's identity. Then we have our service provider, or SP. This is the external application or service the user is trying to access, i.e. the third-party service. And then we have our SAML assertion. After authentication, the IDP, right, our identity provider, sends the SAML assertion to the service provider or the SP, which then confirms that the user has been authenticated. That's how SAML works. And so we're going to go through and see if we can't figure out why some of these answers aren't. Well, let's start with D. We'll start with D. SAML controls firewall rules for applications accessing internal resources. No, SAML doesn't control firewalls. That is a misnomer. SAML has nothing to do with firewalls. We just described what SAML does and how it works. So SAML not going to have anything to do with firewalls. That leaves A, B, or C. I don't know. Let's pick off. I'm just going to pick one at random. Let's knock out A. SAML encrypts network traffic to ensure secure communication. I feel like that's an easy one. Let's get rid of that one. SAML's not focused on encryption. It's focused on authentication, right? And so not a thing. That leaves B or C. B or C. Yes, I'm giving you a few seconds. What do you think? B or C? I'm going to go with C. SAML stores user credentials securely on each service provider's server. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of it. That means the answer must be B. I bet some of you were like, oh, it's C. No, it's B. It's B. SAML provides identity verification by allowing users to authenticate once and access multiple applications. That's the definition of single sign-on. That's literally what single sign-on does. And so SAML helps facilitate that. That's going to be B. B is going to be your answer. There we go. All right, one more question. One more question, and we are done with our 5 questions for this week. Here we go. Match each VPN type with its correct description. I have a feeling you're going to be pausing this one. I have a feeling you are. We got a lot. We have 5 VPN types. 5. And yes, you need to know them all. These are not VPNs that I suddenly decided, oh, let's grab these and just, pull them offline and see what they do. No, I found all of these on the Network Plus knowledge unit sheet, the domain sheet, right? And so we need to know all 5. We need to know what each type does. We need to provide a description of it, all right? Without further ado, I want you to pause the video. I want you to write. Is it 1A, 2B, 3C? You get the point, right? Write it down. Put it on a notepad if you're on a computer. If you're on your mobile device and you're like, okay, I can't really read this, that's okay. We're going to go over it. If not, that's all right. All right, shall we start with number 1? Shall we start with number 1 or should we start with A? Let's start with A. A VPN configuration where the client only routes specific traffic through the VPN while other traffic is sent directly to the internet. Well, that sounds like a split tunnel VPN to me. That's going to be a split tunnel VPN. So 3A. Shall we move to B? A VPN setup used to connect the entire network, such as a branch office, to another network, such as a corporate headquarters. Well, that's going to be site-to-site VPN. That 5 is going to be B. That leaves C. A type of VPN where the remote users connects to internal networks through web browsers without requiring VPN software. Interesting technology. I like this technology, but you probably guessed it's clientless. So 2 would be C, clientless VPN would be the answer for that one. Then we have D, a VPN that requires a client application on the user's device to establish a secure connection to the internal network. What do you think about that one? D, well, that's going to be client-to-site VPN. That means that E, a VPN where all traffic from the client, including the internet traffic, is routed through the VPN tunnel. Well, that must then be 4, a full tunnel VPN. So 4 is then E. I hope that makes sense. All right, I hope you learned something. I hope you got this. I hope you did well. If not, that's okay. Did you learn something? That's what we're trying to accomplish here. We will see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. I'm Dr. K.